A new balance patch has been proposed, and with a couple of key changes, there could be some insane potential. I'm going to show you the most insane finish of a game I've ever had, and my new favorite card, Stormfield. Stormfield is now going to be a 2-mana give +1 spell boost to all of your creatures. This opens up an enormous potential for OTK decks, which I love. I love OTK decks because they're favored against decks who sit back and do absolutely nothing, like Death Board Wipe. It sits back, it's very reactionary, it just waits for you to do something, and if you don't do anything, they can't react to it. So let's take a look at how I used some combos to beat Death Board Wipe and why I'm so excited for Stormfield in the future. Now, to be clear, this is just a public test realm. It's not in the actual game yet, and they could see this video and say, no, this is too OP, we're not going to add it. However, I don't think it's too OP. I think these games are insane because they're against Death Board Wipe, and against aggro, I think I'd be in big trouble. So I had to share these games though because they're absolutely insane. So let's take a look. So I wanted to test it out in an OTK deck where I'm going to reduce the cost of all my card sharks down to 0. I just need to reduce the cost of 1 down to 0 and then clone it twice. That gives me 0 mana, fill the entire board with 6 creatures. And then I'm going to use multiple Stormfields to get spell boost +12. And then use cards like Form of Unity and Beam and Form of Power to do tons of face damage. Now, this was my first game with this deck, and I played against Death Board Wipe. And Death Board Wipe, they just sit back. They're very reactive. If you don't do anything, they can't really do anything to you. And so my opponent just sat back the entire game. And we're at 9 mana now, so now it's looking real dangerous for me. He's about to kill me. And I have 10 health left. And I still can't find my Form of Unity. I've only got 4 cards, now 3 cards left in my deck. Where's my Form of Unity? Still no Form of Unity. I've got 2 cards left, 2 Form of Unities. They're the last 2 cards in the deck. No. It turns out I picked the wrong deck and there was 0 Form of Unities in this deck, to my surprise. So, instead, I had to improvise and find the most insane lethal of all time. So first, I'm going to use Morgana's Grimoire here because I still think that I have a Form of Unity in my deck. And I'm going to use Tracking Bolt to kill the V-Rock because that's going to draw me a Form of Unity. However, it's not a Form of Unity. It is a Magic Inks. And this allows you to copy a base copy, which means it's still going to cost the full amount, but of the lowest cost spell. So I now have 4 Stormfields in my hand. And 6 mana. A Beam and a Dream. Spend a little bit of time doing some math here, just to make sure this actually adds up. The animations are so slow, I was worried I was going to run out of time. It makes me laugh every time I watch this. I would love to know what my opponent was thinking. I now have Spell Boost 4 on 6 creatures for Spell Boost 24, plus Beam does 3 damage. That's 27 damage for perfect lethal. OTK'd my opponent. This time around, I run into the same opponent about 10 minutes later after I added Form of Unity and Form of Power to my deck. You can see there's Form of Unity, proof that I remembered to add it this time. And this time my opponent, though, although he's playing Death Board Wipe, knows my plan is to just sit back and do nothing until I can OTK him. So knowing that I know that he knows this, so I know that I have to play a little bit faster and do a little bit more face damage this time. And so I immediately get a Shadow Scryer out here. This card is huge. It helps you set up combos. It lets you cycle through your deck. Basically lets you pick your hand every single turn. It's amazing. Pyramid Warden is horrible against Death Board Wipe because that Fanatic is going to die and then come back again when the Pyramid Warden dies, and then he gets to ramp twice, and I do not want him to ramp. So here we get a 0-cost form of power. That with the spell boost is going to enable me to do a bunch of face damage. Here I'm happy to see the V-Rock come out because he's drawing me some cards, he's not milling me. I need to find all of my combo. I don't really need to reduce a spell to 0 because I already have the 0-cost form of power. What I really need to find is my Form of Unities, my Card Sharks, and some clones. And we have the Alchemists, we can reduce things, but we don't have any of the pieces of the combo yet. So here I decided to draw more cards, kill off his V-Rock. Let's see what we get. And we get the clone. So now we just need to find one of our card sharks. We have the Assistant Alchemist. I reduce the cost of Demetrios. And I decide to not take too much damage as I know that my opponent's going to start trying to hit my face. Blood Ritual just pops the ward here, but it also heals him. So my opponent he knows he has to keep his health all the way up. Now we get a clone, but we do not need it. We already have a clone. We can just find a card shark, clone it, and get a couple of other creatures out. We're fine. Like we have Shadow Scryer, we got Demetrios, a Warp Engineer, and Alchemist. So here I assume he has no choice but to kill Demetrios. And knowing that he has to kill Demetrios, I assume he can't do what he does, which is play a Canopy Hoarder so he can ramp and draw cards. But he's not milling me, so him drawing me cards is really just helping me find all of my combo. We don't need the Star Shard Bolt. We don't need the Warp Engineer. We gotta find the pieces of the combo. Final Draft is huge because it's gonna draw me 2 cards right now. Voldemort draws me a card, so I'm gonna draw 3 cards here effectively. 2 right now, 1 at the end of the turn from Voldemort. We get the Form of Unity. A little too late for Palace's Wand. We do a couple face damage. I want them as low as humanly possible so we don't need to have 4 copies of Stormfield. So it would have been nice to save the Alchemist for something better, like the Card Shark, but here I figure let's just get the board completely filled up, and if we find a Stormfield, we don't need the Card Shark. We've got Stormfield. We've got a full board. We've got a 1-cost Form of Unity. What more do you need? If he sleeps everything, we can give every creature spell boost. Then that Form of Unity, that's 15 damage from the Form of Unity with the Stormfield. Sulfuric Rain is going to make everything sleep. Everything's on fire. So I know I'm on a timer here. This is kind of worrying. He heals a bit. All my stuff's going to burn up. We don't have any card sharks.
The possibilities are endless.
But if we can draw something else that does face damage, then suddenly we've just got lethal. So Form of Unity is going to do 15. Beam going to do 9. And then we can also attack with the Shadow Scryer, which has not attacked yet. It was not sleeping because it had ward. And I'm just triple checking my math here. Quintuple checking the math. Here comes Stormfield. My opponent has to just be so sad. It's the same guy we just played. He sees the Stormfield coming. We get him with the 15. And we get him with the beam. And that is GG's. Stormfield is officially nasty, and I love it. Nothing better than watching Death Board Wipe lose matches. Love to see it.